My name is Randall Shans, and I am an amateur science fiction writer. The reason that I am making this video is because my friend Mike suggested that if I did this sort of thing, people might want to listen to some of my stories as opposed to reading them, and that might generate a little bit more interest in what I'm trying to do. And it also might be the kind of thing that people might want to listen to at work with headphones when they're doing other stuff. Figure it's worth a shot. So, today I will be reading one of my stories. It is called When the World Was Young and I Was Old, which is from my fourth book called It's Not Rocket Science, which you can pick up on Amazon as a paperback, or which you can get as an ebook, or which you can pick up on Smashwords as an ebook. If you're going ebook, pick up Smashwords. They give more of a percentage to the writers. And trust me, nobody doing amateur science fiction writing like me is making any money off of it. Okay, so this is, this is When the World Was Young and I Was Old, written in 2013. I'd tell you my name, but it doesn't matter. I overslept. There was a polite knock at the door. A man kept saying my unimportant name and asking if I was all right. I allowed as how I was, but the man had to physically see me to make sure. I answered the door in my underwear. I was old. He was 31. He recoiled a bit in revulsion, then composed himself and said he was glad that I was doing well and breakfast would be ready anytime I wanted it. I thanked him without meaning it. He smiled without meaning it and went away. It's winter. My joints ache. They sting when it gets really cold, but it's not that bad today. I go to the bathroom. I do all the normal bathroom stuff, then get in my walk-in tub and hit a buzzer. Presently, a pretty nurse comes in. She's 31. I can bathe myself, but they fear me putting my head under, probably with good reason. I don't mind. The warm water feels good. Her fingers feel good in my thinning hair. Her blouse doesn't quite contain her pulchritude as she leans over me. But below the waterline, nothing. I live in a small apartment building across the street from the Westway Gateway Mall in Lincoln, Nebraska. It's been converted to an old folks home with a ratio of 5 attendants to each resident. My every reasonable whim and their salaries are paid by the state. There are places like this in all the cities and major towns in the state. In insignificant places, as insignificant as my own name. They simply load up all the old folks and ship them here. The number gets smaller every year. Only 15 are in my building, counting me. There were 20 last winter. Does the clock speed up or do I just notice it more? The staff are all 31. I have a breakfast large enough to choke a cowboy. Steak, eggs, ham, and bacon. I've taken to eating clam chowder too. They just started making it again this last year. It's expensive, but I figured what the hell, let the taxpayers pick up the tab. Live a little. It's not like I'm belong to this earth, whichever earth this may be, that is. I'm the only one in the room. I seldom see the other residents. They mostly stay in their rooms, watching old videos, listening to old records, basically sitting around and being silently old. I wonder if this is the way it's always been in old folks' homes, or if it's unique to our predicament. In any event, the chowder isn't as good as I remember from my youth. The clams come from the New Gulf of Mexico, and not old New England. I wonder if that's the reason, or maybe it's just that I'm old and my sense of taste isn't as sharp as it once was. I don't drink coffee in the mealroom. For a long time, this was because no one had any coffee to be drunk, but 3 years back, some explorers in New South America found a whole lot of wild coffee plants, and the Midwest's long love affair with oral stimulants was rejoined. It tastes like crap, of course. Nobody knows how to breed the plants. The quality control Starbucks used to use in preparation is more or less abandoned, and only slightly less quickly forgotten. Still, I like coffee. I hobble across the street with my walker. It's been plowed, so I'm in no danger of slipping, though my knees and fingers hurt from the cold. There are several buses and a newly installed trolley, but few cars. We don't have the ability to make them yet. It might be decades before we recover it, and unquestionably, the first generation of any vehicles we make will suck, so such cars as we have are ordered for official purposes. My 2003 Ford Escape was commandeered by the state a year after we got here, wherever here is. In the food court, everyone is 31. A few people stare, a few avert their eyes. A decade ago, I got sympathetic looks. Now everyone takes my affliction, being old, as some kind of personal affront. I get my coffee from a handsome 31-year-old man with hair like Simon Le Bon circa 1984. Then I realize I forgot my wallet. There's a line of 31-year-olds behind me. Hairboy flashes me a fake smile across the counter. "It's okay, old-timer," he says. "It's on me. When the train comes in, everybody rides." I nod and I take my drink. Everybody rides? Well, maybe not everyone. My ex-wife works in the Radio Shack across the mall from the food court. I still wear my ring, though, on my widower finger. I don't know why. I can't get rid of it. It's sentimental, I guess. I see her helping a customer. She and I share the same birthday. Same year. I'm 73. She's 31. I never talk to her. Just look from far away, trying not to seem creepy. Life goes on, but it goes on without me. She's pregnant. My God, she's painfully beautiful. Like when we had our second kid. I lose myself for a moment, and my eyes tear up. I have to stop writing for a moment. I'm sorry. She and I had been married for 48 years when we woke up one morning, and I was 60 and she was 18. All our neighbors were 18. We called our kids, who were inexplicably 18 as well. Our grandkids were also 18. Our great-grandkids, well, were still the same age they'd been the night before. But basically, throughout Nebraska, everybody who'd been over 18 was now 18, except me, of course, and a few others. A handful, 1 or 2 for every 1,000 in the state of 1.8 million people. A dwindling handful as it happens, but that was 13 years ago. Back in the present, I go to the trolley station in the mall for a pointless ride around Lincoln. I liked trains when I was little, I like them when I'm old. I wonder if that means I'm getting simple-headed, but decide probably not. Rejuvenatory euphoria was offset somewhat by the almost simultaneous realization that there was no longer anyone living outside of Nebraska. No ruins, no people, no roads, no nothing. To our north, south, east, and west, only thousands of miles of nature. Lucy, my wife, and yes, I always thought that was a silly name, said she'd stick with me, that she'd love me until death do us part, and all that. That didn't last long. She was 18 and hot and horny, and I was 60 and had already been impotent for quite a while. Cialis wasn't produced in Nebraska, so the local supply quickly would have run out, had anyone still needed it. In fact, nobody really needed drugs. The blind could see, the deaf hear, the mute talk, the palsied walk, the insane cure to their madness, the AIDS patients clean of infection, the lice-ridden free of every single louse. Everyone was in perfect condition, excepting me. Sure, they got colds and flus occasionally, but no one's seen a case of cancer or a heart attack in more than a decade. Why? The short answer is that nobody knows. Some people say it was God, some people say it was aliens, some say time travelers, some say time-traveling alien gods. To a man with only a mystery, any nonsense seems like an answer. You know how people are. Some felt that the earth itself, or Gaia, or some such dipshit, had done it. Killed everyone and erased all works of man, excepting our own state. I admit, I actually believed this for a time. Eventually, some folks at Concordia University discovered we weren't on Earth anymore, but rather an exact duplicate. The stars in the sky simply weren't the same. The star that we orbited now wasn't exactly the same spectrographic whatever as our sun used to be. By that point, most of my self-righteous hippie Gaia environmentalist 18-year-old baby boomer friends were dead, killed by bears, bitten by snakes, stampeded by bison, or simply from freezing to death on the plains in the winter. Those that didn't die abandoned the now irrelevant conservation movement. Conservation in an empty world? What was the point? Humanity quickly went back to the long-standing belief that nature was to be conquered, tamed, and utilized. My theory is that the disconnect most people had from nature caused us to fetishize it, not view it realistically, but with suburban arrogance. There's no one to tell my story to, though. No one to tell my theory. So, where were we? Oh, truth is, nobody knows if we're even in the Milky Way galaxy anymore. No one can identify any of the stars we can see in the night sky. Some people say we're in heaven. I laugh at that. Well, you might be in heaven, I say, but I'm still in Nebraska. The governor, and leader of the world, held a raffle to figure out what we'd name the new world. A cleaning woman from Omaha won. Nebraska, she named us. I fell asleep on the trolley and dreamed of my dad. He died just a week before everyone woke up, a teenager again. If he'd held on for just a week, just 7 lousy days, he'd still be here. God, how I miss him. God, I wish I could have him put his arm around me and hug me and tell me that everything was going to be all right. I'd believe him. I'd know he was lying, but God, I'd still believe him. They wake me up when we get back to the mall, and I head back to the food court. Children are all still in school. It's a little easier to be here when there are kids around. It offsets the oppressive uniformity somewhat. Not much, but it's a nice dash of randomness, even if they're clearly shocked by my decrepitude. The first generation of kids born since we got here are just about hitting 13. That means that the second generation will start showing up soon, and that will randomize things a bit more. In 40 or 50 years, my wife and her equally aged friends will start to pass away, and gradually the distribution of ages will begin to ease back to normal, though it'll probably take generations. I don't live as yet, of course. I don't have a lot of time left. I guess that's why I'm writing this. After it first happened, there was a lot of speculation as to why some of us didn't rejuvenate as well. The state vowed to look for it and find a cure. Can you imagine that? A cure for age, as opposed to a temporary retreat like everyone else had? Crazy. They quickly realized it was crazy and quietly shut down the program. A 31-year-old school teacher brought a class to talk to me about Vietnam. I was a sergeant. I killed 5 men and 2 women with my own bare hands. During my hitch, I might as well have been talking about the Battle of Agincourt. I go to the VFW and nobody wants to hang out with me. Not even the youngsters from my old-timey unit. Nothing from our whole lives has much relevance here. Everyone else near my physical age has given up. I force myself to go out, to get coffee, to do stuff. Every day the temptation gets greater to take all my meals in my room and simply sit around listening to my Johnny Cash CDs all day until I run out the clock. In addition to those of us who didn't de-age, there were several thousand people who simply weren't here when we all woke up that day. Murderers, liars, cheats, sons of bitches all. There was no real logic to it, though. No one could figure out exactly what species of bastardry got them cut. Some liars made it, some murderers made it, but maybe no lying murderers made it. It was a hard theory to test. There are so many sins a man can commit, so many overlaps, so many variations on that Venn diagram. My own theory is that those of us who didn't de-age had been excluded by our mysterious benefactors for some reason. What was it? My stance on abortion? What I did in the war? The dirty magazine I kept under my mattress when I was 13? The way I voted in the 2000 elections? My sexual preferences? What? I spent years comparing notes to other left-behind oldsters, but I could never find any overlap. Some say it's just random chance. I prefer to think that there's some design to it. If I'm being punished for some nebulous and forgotten evil, I can accept that. If I'm in this state because of some random programming error in some alien's machinery, that would shatter my stoicism. And in fact, there's so much we don't know. Why were we taken? Were other states taken? Other countries? Or did the U.S. just wake up one morning to find a Nebraska-shaped hole in the ground? Is there an Earth anymore? Or was the whole thing sliced and diced and divvied up and worlds just like this one among the stars? If so, why? Who or what did this to us? Alone in the dining room, I learned that Mrs. Stevens has died. A skinny woman on the 3rd floor, listening to Verdi all by herself all day. I won't miss her. I doubt I said 10 words to her in as many years. But just the same, the walls of the huge empty room seemed suddenly to close in around my table. I finished my chowder. I head to my room. I won't tell you my name because whomever it was that put us here really didn't want me here. And it seems wrong to me to try to circumvent a force that has done so much good for so many others. It's hubris to bemoan my fate, which, if I'm honest, is really no different than it would have been if everyone around me hadn't suddenly de-aged, even if we hadn't ended up on a fake reproduction of our own planet. I'm old. I'm dying. It's what old people do. But I am so goddamn lonely. So goddamn lonely. My tears well up as I look at a picture of my ex-wife. And I realize why I keep the ring and why I wear it on my right hand, but then, because I'm old, I forget it for some reason, almost instantly. I miss my dad. If the things they taught me in Sunday school are true, I may see him again soon. I pray to the God that I never really believed in, that I will. Great racking sobs claim me for a while. My dad, my mom, my now meaningless memories. I wonder if this is any different from any other old man, or if it's unique to my predicament. Then I calm down, and I write for a while. Our benefactors were merciful. They gave everyone else a second chance. They didn't give me a second chance, but they didn't kill me either. I'm not valuable enough to save, and I'm not dangerous enough to get rid of. It's a hard thing to know for a fact that your life is a testament only to the fact that you were fundamentally, basically, horribly wrong about something that everybody else got right. So is this heaven? I don't think so. Or hell. I think of something my wife said to me the day we woke up here, when she and the world were young and I was old. I feared that she wouldn't love me anymore. She said that there's a place in her heart for me, a place for me in her heart and in this world. And she was right. There is. But not for much longer. The end. If you like this story, or you like my reading it, please tell your friends and subscribe down below, and I will let you know whenever I'm updating something, which should be fairly regularly, at least for a short period until we find out how this goes. Thank you very much for paying attention. Thank you very much for checking it out. Have a good day.